So, good morning to everyone. Uh, Today, we are going to discussing the chemical coordination and integration. That is the chapter 9, class 11 means according to NCRT. This is the class 11 according to Telangana Intermediate first year, intermediate first year. So, biology chapter 19, chemical coordination and integration. So let us chemical coordination already we studied in previous which is carried out by the nervous system, that is brain, spinal cord, and nerves, that is such as sensory, motor, mixed and associated nerves. So coordination in our body mainly carried out by the neurons or nerve cells, so which are present in the nervous system. But here coordination other than the nervous system, we can see how the coordination is carried out by the other than the nervous system means by the chemicals. So by the chemicals. So here in the chapter we are going to discussing the how the coordination is carried out by the chemicals. So when we go to the deeply, here chemicals means here hormones. Chemicals means here hormones. So here coordination is carried out by the hormones. So what are the hormones means? The chemical substances which are responsible to maintain the normal metabolic activities and carried out several metabolic activities in normal in coordination way. So let us discuss the chemical coordination which is under in the endocrine system. Endocrine system. Endocrine system have glands. Those are called endocrine glands. These so when you see here in the chapter 19 chapter 1 first endocrine glands and hormones, 19.2 human endocrine system, 19.3 hormones of heart, kidney and gastrointestinal tract, and 19.4 mechanism of hormone action. So let us introduction about already we studied in point to point rapid coordination among organs. The neural coordination is fast but short lived. So the coordination is carried out by the nervous system, which is very fast, but it is short lived, means it live temporarily only. But as the nerve fibers do not innervate all cells of the body, and the cellular functions need to be continuously regulated. So the coordination is carried out by the neurons. It will be temporarily because of they won't penetrate into deeply the cells. So that is the reason they are short-lived. But a special kind of coordination and integration has to be provided. For long time coordination is must and should, but this is needed to us. So this was is carried out by the special chemicals like hormones. The neural system and the endocrine system jointly coordinate and regulate the physiological functions in the body. So, however, and there will be a 50-50 the coordination. The coordination in our body carried out by the nervous system as well as hormones. So this is main important. to carry out normal physiological functions. Now let us discuss the 19.1, the endocrine glands and hormones. So endocrine glands and hormones. So endocrine glands lack ducts, are hence called ductless glands, which means, for example, if we take a thyroid gland which is present in the neck, this gland never have any duct, any pipe to send its secretion, that is thyroxine. Directly its secretion poured into the blood. So blood is carried out this hormone, that is thyroxine. So like that, the endocrine glands, whatever you take, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, adrenal gland, so these glands do not have any tubular structures which which carry out the transport of the hormones, because of they do not have ducts or tubes or pipes, hence they are called ductless glands. Their secretion are called hormones. The classical definition of hormone as a chemical produced by the endocrine glands released into the blood. So whatever their secretions, either pituitary gland secrete, thyroid gland secrete, parathyroid gland secrete, those hormones are transported by the blood. That is most important here. So in our body, hormones are carried out, are transported by the blood, so that blood act as a medium of transport of hormones. So they are responsible to transport a very long distances where the secretion and far away from where the that is functions carried out. So they transport very fast and long distances. So when we see here, hormones are non-nutrient chemicals which act as intercellular messengers, are produced in the trace amount, which means, so hormones does not consist any nutrients, so hence they are called non-nutrients, and which act as a intercellular messengers, which means they communicate the cell to cell, they communicate the cell to cell, hence they are called intercellular messengers, and they produce in trace amount, means hormones secrete in minute concentration, means in points level, so point liters, only minute concentration only they secrete. That is about the important characteristic feature of the hormones. So if you take the hormones, hormones are the chemicals, they are the non-nutrients chemicals, and they are intercellular messengers, and they produce in small amount. So the new definition covers a number of new molecules in addition to the hormones secreted by the organized endocrine glands. So when you take invertebrates, means non-vertebrates, means do not have backbone, possess very simple endocrine system with a few hormones, whereas a large number of chemicals act as a hormones provide coordination in the vertebrates. So when you take the vertebrates, means backbone having animals, they secrete, and also they have the more number of endocrine glands. So when we compare with the invertebrates, vertebrates have more number of endocrine glands and hormonal secretion. So now let us go to the human endocrine system study. right? So when you see here human endocrine system, so the endocrine glands, hormones produced, diffused tissue cells located in different parts of our body constitute the endocrine system. So mainly when you see that here, pituitary gland is located in the cerebrum part of the brain below the cerebrum. We know that brain has three parts: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. So this is entirely forebrain. So below the forebrain, that is called cerebrum. Below the cerebrum, there will be a hypothalamus. There will be a hypothalamus. To this hypothalamus, there will be a pituitary gland is attached. There will be a pituitary gland is present. So, and also backside, we here we can see pineal gland also. Pineal gland. So, in mainly, if you take brain, the location of the pituitary gland below the cerebrum. Cerebrum is the first part, లేదా forebrain of forebrain cerebrum. We can say like that. ఈ విధంగా చెప్పవచ్చు అనమాట. So, another glands, if you take a thyroid present in the neck region, and also present parathyroid glands here only additional, and adrenal glands they are present on the top of the top of the kidneys. Each kidney one adrenal gland means two adrenal glands are present. And also we can see pancreas where the small intestine is there. In that the small intestine first part, duodenum, in that region pancreas is present. It is also one of the gland. It is called mixed gland. So, and also parathyroid glands already we seen here. And whereas gonads, in testis are the male gonads, ovaries are the female gonads. So, and also, and another, some other glands we can see in the digestive system of, that is gastrointestinal tract, and liver, kidney, heart also produces certain hormones. So gastrointestinal tract means food pipe, liver, kidney, and heart also produces small amount of hormones. So a brief account of the structure and functions of all major endocrine glands, hypothalamus of the human body is given the following. So let us first of all endocrine glands if you take in human being. So endo means inner, endo means inner, crine means secretion. Endo means inner, crine means secretion. So they secrete into the blood because of they do not have ducts. Endocrine glands they are called, ductless glands also called. So now let us discuss about hypothalamus. Keep in our mind, hypothalamus is present in below the cerebrum, means it is the first part of the brain. Brain have three parts: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Below the forebrain, this hypothalamus is present. Now let us see the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the basal part of the diencephalon. So once you keep here diencephalon. So let us take the color. Another one, what we will take green if you take. So when you take the, this is the hypothalamus. This hypothalamus is attached to the diencephalon. So another color we will take to better understanding. So now this one. So hypothalamus is attached to the diencephalon. So below the forebrain. It regulates the a wide spectrum of body functions. So diencephalon also carried out certain functions. Let us go to that. Keep in our mind. So here we have to write diencephalon also. Diencephalon. Here they given diencephalon. So here diencephalon, where it is? Here it is located. To the diencephalon, hypothalamus is present. To the hypothalamus, pituitary gland is present. That is keep in your mind. So first of all, diencephalon. There is a question. Diencephalon, where it is present? Below the cerebrum. Nothing but forebrain. Forebrain కింద జనరల్గా ఏముంటుంది, డాన్సెఫలాన్ ఉంటుంది. డాన్సెఫలాన్కి ఏమి అతుక్కుంటుంది అంటే హైపోథాలమస్. హైపోథాలమస్కి ఏమి అతుక్కుంటుంది అంటే పిట్యూటరీ గ్లాండ్. సో diencephalon carry out certain functions directly. Diencephalon carried out certain functions. Let us discuss, and also it contain some neurosecretory cells called nuclei, which produce hormones. These hormones regulate the synthesis secretion of pituitary hormones. However, hormones produced by the hypothalamus are of two types. So hypothalamus produces are two types. Those are the hormones which stimulate the secretion of pituitary, that is releasing hormones, and inhibiting hormones. Means there will be a controlling pattern is there. So hypothalamus, it has two types hormones. Some hormones respond, means one kind of hormones responsible to secretion of pituitary hormones, whereas some hormones of hypothalamus stops the secretion of hormones by the pituitary gland. Means promoting hormones, inhibiting hormones. Hypothalamus secretes two types of hormones, promoting, inhibiting. That you have to keep in your mind. For example, a hypothalamus hormone called gonadotropin hormone releasing hormone, that is GnRH. Gn means gonadotropic releasing hormone. RH means releasing hormone. Stimulate the pituitary synthesis and release of gonadotropins. Means so GnRH, which means gonadotropin. Gonadotropin short is the GN. RH means releasing hormone. Gonadotropic releasing hormone stimulates the pituitary synthesis and releasing of gonadotropins. On other hand, somatostatin from the hypothalamus inhibits the releasing of growth hormone from the pituitary. So because of it has two natures, promote the releasing of hormones, inhibit the releasing of hormones, stopping, that is releasing of growth hormone. Here here GnRH it stimulates the secretion of pituitary hormones so that gonadotropin is released, whereas somatostatin stop the secretion of growth hormone from the pituitary gland. So these hormones originating in the hypothalamic neurons passes through axons and are released from their nerve endings. These hormones reach the pituitary gland through a portal circulatory system and regulate the functions of anterior pituitary part. The posterior pituitary part is under the direct neural regulation of the hypothalamus. So which means pituitary gland has two parts, anterior, posterior, and the middle also it has three. So here we can see this diagram. So the pituitary gland, when you see that, so this is the pituitary gland, and this ash color one is the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamic neurons we can see. These neurons of nerve terminals are attaching to the pituitary gland. They are called portal circulation here, which is carrying. And when you see that pituitary gland, it has two portions. So this is called anterior pituitary gland. Now this is called posterior pituitary gland. It has two parts, anterior, posterior. Now let us know that the location of the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is located in a bony cavity called sella turcica. Sella turcica and is attached to the hypothalamus by a stalk. సో ఈ పిట్యూటరీ గ్లాండ్ అనేటువంటిది ఒక బోనీ క్యావిటీ అంటే ఒక బోనీ క్యావిటీ అయినటువంటి సెల్లా టుర్సికాలో కింద ఉంటూ హైపోథాలమస్కు ఒక స్టాక్ ద్వారా అటాచ్ అయి ఉంటుంది. సో ద పిట్యూటరీ గ్లాండ్ ఈస్ డివైడెడ్. ఇట్ ఈస్ డివైడెడ్ anatomically into an adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. So when we see that pituitary gland, anatomically it is divided to adenohypophysis, neurohypophysis. So when you take the adenohypophysis, consists of two portions, that is pars distalis and pars intermediate. Pars distalis, pars intermedia. The pars distalis region of the pituitary, commonly called anterior pituitary. Anterior. So this is called pars distalis. Anterior pituitary part is called pars distalis, which produces directly hormones like, so means anterior pituitary part, sorry, anterior pituitary part produces directly hormones, that is growth hormone, GH, prolactin, thyroid, stimulating hormone, that is TSH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, luteinizing hormone, LH, follicle stimulating hormone, FSH. So these hormones secreted by the anterior pituitary part. So let us count how many. Growth hormone 1, prolactin 2, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone 3, ACTH, adenocorticotropic hormone 4, luteinizing hormone 5, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone 6. Maximum 6 hormones secreted by anterior pituitary gland or part, whereas parts intermedia, parts intermedia means middle part of the pituitary gland secretes only one hormone. The middle part of the pituitary gland is called pars intermedia, which secretes only one hormone called MSH, that is melanocyte stimulating hormone. Melanocyte stimulating hormone. In humans, the pars intermedia is almost merged with pars distalis. Means there is no separate portion of the pars intermedia media in pituitary gland. It is merged, means it is attached to the posterior, that is pars distalis part. Whereas second part, when you take of pituitary gland, that is neurohypophysis, that is called pars nervosa, also known as posterior pituitary, stores and releases two hormones called oxytocin and vasopressin. So the posterior part of the pituitary gland secrete two hormones, that is called neurohypophysis. One hormone is called oxytocin, another one is the vasopressin, and so which are actually synthesized by the hypothalamus and are transported axonally to neurohypophysis. So original, if you take oxytocin and vasopressin released by the hypothalamus, but they are transported through the neurons, that is the terminal part of the neurons, to the neurohypophysis of the pituitary gland. So now GH hormone, let us discuss. That is growth hormone. So whenever the growth hormone secreted by the pituitary gland excessive, which leads to the abnormal growth body, leading gigantism, means according to their normal age, they increases their length. When the GH is excessive in amount, there will be a overgrowth that is called gigantism. Whereas the GH hormone, the growth hormone secreted less or insufficient quantity, it result is the dwarfism. Means children never grow, they remain stunt. Means పొట్టి విద్యార్థులు స్టూడెంట్స్ ఈ హార్మోన్ తక్కువైనప్పుడు పొట్టిగా ఉంటారు, పెరగరు. So there will be a, whereas excessive secretion of the growth hormone in adults, especially in middle age, can result in the severe disfigurement that is called acromegaly. Acromegaly. Acromegaly means here lower jaw comes forward when in adult secrete excessive. In adult, if the excessive secretion of growth hormone, it leads to a acromegaly in which the lower jaw will come forward, means abnormal growth we can see. Sometimes it leads to death. And another hormone which is secreted by the directly pituitary gland, prolactin. Prolactin secrete directly anterior portion of the pituitary gland. It regulates the growth of the mammary glands and is responsible of production of milk. Hence, prolactin is also called milk ejecting hormone. Milk ejecting hormone. Next, pituitary gland secrete TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, which stimulate the thyroid glands and secretion of thyroid hormone. And ACTH, which is secreted by the pituitary gland, it is responsible to promote the responsible of production of glucocorticoids by the adrenal cortex. And LH and FSH stimulated and gonadal activity and ends are called gonadotropins. In males, luteinizing hormones stimulate the synthesis of secretion of a hormone called androgens from the testis. Whereas in female, FSH, sorry, in males, FSH androgens regulate spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis means production of sperms by the testis. Whereas in females, LH induces the ovulation of fully mature follicles, that is Graafian follicles, and maintains the corpus luteum formed from the remnants of the Graafian follicles after ovulation. So in female, luteinizing hormone responsible to production of ova from the Graafian follicles which are located in the ovary, and as well as formed maintain the corpus luteum which is formed from the remnants of the Graafian follicles after ovulation. When you take in the female, FSH means follicle stimulating hormone. FSH means follicle stimulating hormone in females responsible for growth and development of the ovarian follicles. Ovarian follicles. And when you take MSH, means melanocyte stimulating hormone acts the melanocytes and melanin It is a important hormone and regulates the pigmentation of the skin. So skin color seems to be blacker because of presence of melanin hormone. And another important hormone directly secreted by the uh, posterior part of the pituitary gland, that hormone is called oxytocin, which acts on smooth muscles of our body and stimulate their contraction. Whereas in females, this oxytocin helps to create the labor pains, which are responsible to childbirth and also responsible to milk ejection from the mammary gland. Another important hormone which is secreted by the posterior part of the pituitary gland, that is vasopressin, which is responsible to reabsorption water electrolytes by the distal tubules in the nephrons and thereby reduces the loss of water in the urine. Hence, it is called antidiuretic hormone. Antidiuretic hormone. It leads to, if this hormone is not secreted in sufficient quantity, it leads to increasing the secretion of or elimination of or sending of urine per day 15 liters. That disease is called diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus means in Telugu అతిమూత్ర వ్యాధి. ఎప్పుడైతే వాసోప్రెసిన్ అనే హార్మోన్ తక్కువగా సెక్రెట్ అవుతుందో అప్పుడు రీఅబ్జార్ప్షన్ అనేది జరగదు. Reabsorption జరగనప్పుడు, when the reabsorption is not takes place, when the low secretion of vasopressin, more amount of urine is excreted by the body. Thus that disease is called diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus in Telugu అతిమూత్ర వ్యాధి. This person excrete 15 liters per day when compared with the normal person. So normal person secrete per day 1.5 liter, whereas this hormone vasopressin deficient person secrete per day 15 liters. That disease is called diabetes insipidus.